It's May 3, 2007. Game 6 in the first round of the Western Conference, and the Golden State Warriors are 20 seconds away from beating the 67-win Dallas Mavericks and about to pull off the impossible. At this time, they were moments away from becoming the first number 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed in a best-of-7 playoff series. The atmosphere was beautiful to say the least. Mark Cuban wants to leave the building as soon as a buzzer sounded, Don Nelson hugging everyone because he beat his former team, and of course Avery Johnson looking like a deer in headlights and already thinking of his next coaching gig after this evening is over, while Baron Davis is egging the crowd to scream louder. It was perfect. From 1994 to 2007, the Warriors spent 13 miserable years missing out on the playoffs. It wasn't until a team of misfits came along in 2006-2007 that not only broke the Warriors' playoff drought, but also orchestrated arguably the greatest NBA upset of all time. How did they pull it off? Let's take a look. It started with drafting a homegrown star. The Warriors drafted Jason Richardson in the 2001 NBA draft, quickly becoming a fan favorite. The high-flying Richardson won the slam dunk contest in 2002 and 2003, seemingly the only thing the Warriors could win at the time. The losing seasons continued to pile on until the Warriors made a trade in February 2005 for two-time All-Star Baron Davis. Davis at that time was a leader and the heart and soul of the Charlotte Hornets squad. Things soured between Davis and their then head coach Byron Scott, which led to both parties agreeing that enough is enough. This was an instant 18-9 point guard that could run the offense that Donnie Nelson has planned. The Warriors now boasted an exciting backcourt with Davis and Richardson, but they still struggled to win games. Their core of Davis, Richardson, Troy Murphy, and Mike Dunleavy Jr. just wasn't getting the job done. And the losses still getting piled up, they gave away Murphy and Dunleavy in an 8-player trade with the Indiana Pacers in January 2007. In that exchange, the Warriors wanted to get more athletic and more versatile, so they added Steven Jackson and Al Harrington into their rotation. The Pacers have been looking to unload the troubled Jackson ever since the infamous Malice in the Palace incident in 2004. Jackson, who was a part of the massive brawl, received a 30-game suspension without pay and also had to appear in court for his role in the fight. His reputation further took a hit when he fired a gun allegedly out of self-defense outside of a club 2 years later. Things weren't exactly looking great for his career at the time, and the Pacers were ready to move on from Jackson. Lucky for him, the Warriors were willing to take on his baggage and bank on what he could contribute to the team. Shortly after Steven Jackson arrived in the Bay Area, his new head coach, Don Nelson, called him and Baron Davis with a simple instruction. Go to a bar called Smitty's Cocktails near Lake Merritt. We played shuffleboard and drank scotch for hours, talking about pissy drunk. Nelly tells me and BD while we're drunk, you guys are going to be my captains. You run this team and we're going to have fun. And for fans, fun was an understatement to describe what's coming next. The front office were making moves to become winners, but the injury bug was still undefeated. Davis and Richardson missed significant time due to injury, gave the Dub Nation faithful no reasons to believe that the team was going to make the playoffs. On March 5, 2007, the Warriors were 26-35, but this time, they were finally healthy right in time to face the Detroit Pistons, a team that had just made the Eastern Conference Finals the year prior, and the Warriors blasted them 111-93. This began a 16-5 run to close out the regular season, which included 8 wins against playoff teams that year.
We feared nobody, you know what I mean? Obviously, we knew who we were and where we stood, but we also knew the collective talent and the heart we had in that locker room.
The Warriors were starting to find their groove with the new guys, and the next game, a fan named Paul Wong brought a handmade sign to the game. Its message was simple, yet carried the hope that Warriors fans hadn't seen in a long time. We believe. At the time, some fans had never seen the Warriors in the playoffs. Young adults and kids alike who never saw their city win the playoff series. So making the playoffs in itself was a massive deal for the Bay Area. Despite winning 15 of their previous 20 games, the Warriors still needed the Clippers' loss on the last day of the regular season to get into the playoffs. The Warriors used a 41-point first quarter of the regular season finale in Portland and cruised to a 120-98 win over the Trailblazers behind a triple-double from Baron Davis, while the LA Clippers lost a close one to the New Orleans Hornets to finish at 40-42.
We couldn't believe it because I think the Clippers lost to a pretty bad team, and we couldn't believe that they lost the game, and we were in the playoffs, and you thought we won a championship.
With that, the 42-40 Warriors secured the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference, ending a 13-year playoff and winning record drought. This is the Warriors team that will be going to war and the team that made me a believer. Take a good long look and you'll realize there's no big superstar that can carry this team. If they were going to advance in the playoffs, it would be done together. The stage was set in the first round of the playoffs where they set a date with the number 1 seed in the West and the team with the best record in the league, the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki was at the top of the NBA as one of its best superstars. After choking away a 2-0 series lead in 2006 finals versus the Miami Heat, the Mavericks stormed back with a vengeance during the 2006-2007 regular season, winning a league-best 67 games to secure a home court advantage throughout the playoffs. And there was no one who can stop them from reaching the finals again, right? It seemed the end is near for this Warriors team and it was time for the real contenders to make their mark. But these Warriors are not your typical team who was happy to be in the playoffs. They know and believe that they can accomplish great things. What most people don't know about this team is that in the regular season, the Warriors won all 3 of their matchups with the Mavericks that season. Their victories weren't because of Baron Davis, Steven Jackson, or even Matt Barnes. But the key to their success was because of their coach, Don Nelson. Nelson had coached for the Mavs from 1997 to 2005. He drafted Dirk Nowitzki and was responsible for grooming Dirk and Steve Nash towards stardom. In the end, money forced Nelson and the Mavs to have a bitter parting, and Nelson was eager for revenge. The game plan, Nelson recalled, was to stay small, stick Jackson on Dirk, make him drive, and be ready with a double team. The Dubs were ahead of their time with the way they play basketball. The Mavericks started 2 traditional bigs like Eric Dampier and of course 7-foot Dirk. The Warriors went for a more of a positionless look. They would have Baron Davis running the point with any combination of wings in Jason Richardson, Stephen Jackson, Al Harrington, Matt Barnes, or Mikhail Petrus. All were athletic wings who were lengthy and could knock down threes. Mixed with the Latvian center Andris Biedrins and most improved player winner Monte Ellis, the Warriors had plenty of shooting and speed. With Nelson calling the shots, they played a run-and-gun brand of basketball that was fast-paced, exciting, and dangerous, similar to the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns. And the moment the ball was tipped, the Mavs were in trouble from the get-go. The Warriors stole Game 1 on the road thanks to a big scoring night from Davis. He scored a game-high 33 points, including 26 in the second half, to go along with 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and a block in the 97-85 win. Meanwhile, Nowitzki shot just 4 of 16 from the field with 0 threes for just 14 points. Although the Mavericks came right back and evened the series at 1 apiece in Game 2 with a 112-99 victory. Now it's Oakland's turn. Oracle Arena hosted its first playoff game in 13 years, and a Bay Area fan base that hasn't sniffed the playoffs in so long isn't going to let this moment slip away. As you would expect, Game 3 in Oakland was absolutely rocking. The Warriors rode their raucous Oracle crowd to an 18-point win to take the series lead. Everyone contributed to this win. Jason Richardson had 30 points, BD with 24, Steven Jackson with 16, Monte Ellis with 14, and Biedrins with 10. Moving now to Game 4, one key thing here is that Dirk hasn't made a 3-pointer yet in the whole playoffs until there were like 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter. This Matt Barnes 3 perfectly encapsulated how things were going the 07 Warriors team's way and that they were going to have a date with history. The Mavericks now find themselves down 3-1. The unlikely chance of becoming the first number 1 seed to fall to a number 8 since the NBA made the first round a best of 7 affair had become much greater. The scene shifted back to Dallas for Game 5, where the Mavs were led by Nowitzki's 30 points en route to a 6-point win. And with the series at 3-2, the Warriors had a chance to close out the series and pull off one of the most shocking victories in NBA history at home. Finally, Game 6. Warriors fans roared and cheered like never before, knowing that momentum is on their side. Riding the noise of Oracle, the Dubs ran the Mavs out of the building in Game 6. Led by Jackson's 33 points on 7 threes, the Warriors destroyed the 1-seeded Mavericks by 25 in a season to remember. Nowitzki was bothered throughout the whole game that led to him missing 11 of his 13 shots, only contributing 8 points. After the game and the series loss, and an obviously frustrated Nowitzki threw a trash can at the wall right outside the visiting locker room in Oracle. The swarming defense on Dirk cut his shooting averages from 26.4 points a game on 50% from the field in the regular season down to 19.7 points a game on a mere 38% from the field in their first round playoff series. The defending Western Conference champions looked dazed, devastated, and never stood a chance amidst the roaring golden sea of Warriors fans. And to add more awkwardness to the German superstar, Nowitzki was voted the league's regular season MVP. He was dominant in the regular season after all, but receiving the award after your team got eliminated already from the playoffs just didn't look right. That first round series would end up being the high point of the We Believe Warriors. The Utah Jazz sent them home in 5 games in the Western Conference semifinals, but this Baron Davis dunk over Andrei Kirilenko was something to remember though. Ultimately, the team failed to return to the playoffs in 2008 despite improving to 48 regular season wins. The ever-competitive Western Conference was too strong for the Warriors, who wasn't able to make the playoffs despite winning close to 50 games. The Warriors didn't win it all back in 2007, but they gave people, especially for the Bay Area fans, a modern-day David and Goliath story that will be in the lore of Golden State's history forever. That even the outcasts, misfits, and nobodies can come together and have a common goal. And for 6 games in 2007, they showed a dedicated fanbase how to hope, how to dream, and of course, how to believe.
The greatest upset in the history of the NBA playoffs. They have defeated the Dallas Mavericks in 6 as the confetti comes from above. What